I'll start a series based on a nervous system. I'll deal this nervous system in series of classes. First, we'll know the basics of nervous system. So, nervous system is a helpful in communications and can also act as a control network which allows an organism to interact rapidly and adaptively with its environment. So, this environment can be either external or an internal environment. So, this nervous system is classified into two types. One is central nervous system and a peripheral nervous system. This central nervous system will consist of a brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system will have nerves and ganglia. This ganglia contains small group of neurons. And let us know the cellular components of nervous system. Cellular components. This cellular nervous system is made up of cells, connective tissue, and blood vessels. In cells, we have neurons and glia. In this particular class, I will discuss about neurons. Each topic we'll discuss in detail. So we'll start with the neurons. This neuron is a basic working unit of central and peripheral nervous system. And these neurons are excitable tissues, excitable cells. So these excitable cells, they can generate action potential. Next, we'll see the structure of neuron. Basic structure of neuron. This neuron has a cell body. This is a cell body, and this cell body contains nucleus. So this is a cell body. This cell body can be called as perikaryon, or it can be called as a soma. And there is a thickening over this area. This thickened area is called as axon hillock. This is called as axon hillock. From this axon hillock, axon will arise. This is an axon. And in the cell body, they will have dendrites. These dendrites are they have ramifications. So they are dendrites. These dendrites, they will arborize, that is, branching will occur. This branching can be very extensive. They will arborize extensively. What is the function of these dendrites? They receive incoming signal from other neurons. They will receive the incoming signal and they will process this signal. And they will transmit information to soma. So this is the function of dendrites. And this axon will have coverings. This is called as myelin sheath. This is myelin sheath. This myelin sheath is made of specialized cells called as Schwann cells. These are the Schwann cells. This is a Schwann cell. This is a myelin sheath. And these gaps are called as nodes of Ranvier. So there won't be any myelination in the nodes of Ranvier. And this is called as an initial segment. Initial segment. And this initial segment is the first portion of axon. First portion of axon. And at the terminal end of the axon, there is a ramification. And these are called as terminal buttons or boutons. They are these knob-like structures. They are called as terminal buttons, or they can be called as boutons. And they are they are also called as synaptic knobs. They are presynaptic terminals. And these synaptic knobs will contain granules or vesicles. What is the function of these granules and vesicles? They will store neurotransmitters so that they will stimulate the structures. These neurotransmitters can be inhibitory or they can be excitatory. So this is the basic structure of neuron. And these neurons are classified into different types. Neurons are classified. How they are classified into different types, we'll see. One is unipolar. Another one is bipolar. Another one is pseudo-unipolar. One more is multipolar. So we'll discuss each of the neuron. In a unipolar neuron, they will have a cell body. This is a cell body. And they will have only one process which is divided into two things. one one part will act as an axon, one part will act as a dendrite. So this is an axon and this is a dendrite, and this is axon, and they will have nucleus. So what is the speciality of this unipolar neuron? They have one process, and this one process will serve as receptive surface, that is dendritic surface, and one more is releasing terminal. Axon will be the releasing terminal. So this single process is divided into axon and dendrite. That is a unipolar. It is seen in invertebrates. Next is bipolar. These bipolar cells are seen in retina. So we have a cell body, and cell body will have a nucleus, and this will have one part as a dendrite. This is dendrite. This is cell body, and we have an axon. This is an axon. So that means this bipolar cell have two specialized process. One is dendrite, another one is axon. Dendrite will carries information to the cell body, and axon will transmit information from the cell body. This is about unipolar and bipolar cells, and bipolar cells are present in retina, and unipolar cells are present in invertebral tissues, invertebral organisms. And next we'll discuss about pseudo unipolar cell. This pseudo unipolar cell will have a cell body, and this cell body will have a bifurcated process, that is a single bifurcated process. So this is a cell body, and this is a single bifurcated process, and this single bifurcated process is divided into two parts. One is peripheral axon. This axon goes to skin and muscle, and this is a central axon. One is peripheral axon, one is central axon, and this central axon will have axon terminals, and they go to spinal. This central axon will go to spinal cord. One part is going to the skin and muscle, another part is going to spinal cord. And we have multipolar cells. Multipolar cells. In this multipolar cells, we have three types. One is motor neuron of spinal cord, which has a basic structure. This is a cell body with an axon, and axon will have a terminals, and this cell body will have dendrites. These dendrites will ramify, and they have a nucleus, and this is an axon, this is dendrite, and this is a cell body. And we have pyramidal cells of hippocampus. Cell body will be like this, and they will have an axon, and they will have a basal dendrites, and from this cell body there will be an apical dendrite, and this apical dendrite will ramify. This is an apical dendrite that will ramify, and this is a basal dendrite. Basal dendrite. And this is a cell body. And this is an axon. So these type of cells are seen in hippocampus. Next, we have one more cell, that is Purkinje cell of cerebellum. These are present in the cerebellum. Here, a cell body is present, and cell body will have an axon. This is a cell body, this is an axon, this is cell body, and an axon is present, and they will have dendrites, and these dendrites will branch enormously, and they will appear like a tree. Like this arborization, extensive arborization will be seen, and they look like a tree. Enormous branching of dendrites will occur. So these type of cells are seen in cerebellum. So these neurons are divided into unipolar, bipolar, pseudo-unipolar, multipolar cells, and in this multipolar cells they have one axon and many dendrites. One axon but many dendrites. The dendrite ramification is very extensive. So for a functional point of view, these neurons have been divided into 4 important zones. We'll see each zone. One is dendritic zone. What happens in dendritic zone? At dendritic zone, multiple local potentials which are generated by synaptic connections are integrated in dendrites. All the potentials from the other neurons which are in connection with the dendrites, all these signals are taken up by the dendrites, so and they will integrate together. Next, that is a dendritic zone. Next is the site where propagated action potentials are generated. That means the signals which are taken up by the dendrites are sent to cell body, and these signals will be converted into an action potential at particular point on a neuron. So this generation of action potential is of uh, it occurs at two places based upon the different types of neuron. If it is a motor neuron, it will be an initial segment. It will be at the initial segment in a spinal motor neuron, and it will be initial node of Ranvier in a cutaneous sensory neurons. So this is a neuron, this is an axon, this will be the initial segment, this will be the initial node of Ranvier. At these points the action potential will be generated. Next zone will be axonal process. This axonal process, this part, this axon will transmit propagated impulse. They will transmit propagated impulse to nerve endings, and at the nerve endings, this is one more zone where action potentials will cause release of synaptic transmitters. So we have four zones. One is dendritic zone, which receives the signal, and second zone where an action potential is generated, and the place where this action potential is transported to the nerve endings. Through axonal process this will occur, and at the nerve endings we have a vesicles, and these vesicles will contain neurotransmitters, and this action potential will cause release of neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters really will be of two types, either inhibitory or an excitatory neurotransmitter. Based upon the function, these neurotransmitters are released. So these are the four zones, and we'll see what is the function of each part of a neuron. First we'll see about cell body. This cell body will be the main genetic, because it will contain nucleus, and a metabolic center of neuron. it will provide all the necessary metabolic, it has all necessary metabolic functions, and it will control the whole part of the neuron. So it will contain nucleus, they will have Nissl bodies, rough endoplasmic reticulum. Nissl bodies will synthesize proteins, so like a ribosomes, and they are present on the rough endoplasmic reticulum. They have Golgi apparatus. They contain mitochondria and neurofilaments and cytoskeleton. They will receive synaptic input from the dendrites. Next is dendrite. They are tapering and branching extensions of soma, that is cell body is extended, and they are the main direct recipients of signals from other neurons. So they will receive the signals and they will integrate and they will give it to the soma. And these dendrites account for more than 90% of the surface area for synaptic connections. They constitute the major area for a neuron. And next, there are primary dendrites, that is they arise directly from soma, and we have higher order dendrites. They have daughter branches, and these daughter branches are extending from a proximal branch. What is proximal? It is close to soma. That is called as a proximal branch. So higher order dendrites, like they will have a daughter branches which are extending from a more proximal branch of dendrite. And these dendrites will have microtubules and neurofilaments, and primary dendrites which are close to soma, which are directly arising from the soma, that is cell body, they will have Nissl bodies and they will have Golgi apparatus. Dendrites will have small button like or lollipop shaped or a mushroom shaped, that is small mushroom shaped or a lollipop shaped protrusions. And these dendrites will have ligand gated channels. That is, whenever a ligand comes and binds to this channels, there will be opening of these channels and transport of ions will occur. This is about dendrite. Next, third one is axon. This axon will convey the output of the cell to other neurons. That is, whatever signal which is taken up by the dendrites coming to the cell body is transmitted to the other neurons with the help of axon. There is only one axon. They are uniform in diameter. Length and diameter of axons vary with neuronal type. That is, some does not extend much beyond the length of dendrite. They are very short axons. Some they extend meter or more long. So axons can be short and axons can be long. And at the terminal site there will be an arborization, that is, branching will be seen at the terminal end of the axon. Next, the initial segment arises from axon hillock. That is a thickened area of the cell body. This is a cell body and we have a thickened area. This is called as an axon hillock. At the axon hillock, there will be a starting of axon, and they will lack rough endoplasmic reticulum, ribosomes, and Golgi apparatus. And initial segment, they will generate action potential. These axons will terminate in synapses. In dendrites, we have seen ligand gated channels. In axons, we will see voltage gated channels. And these axons will have myelin sheath. This myelin sheath is synthesized by Schwann cell in peripheral nervous system and oligodendrocytes will synthesize myelin sheath in CNS, central nervous system. And this myelin sheath will be surrounding the axon 100 times. And this myelin sheath is absent around the nodes of Ranvier. Along the nodes of Ranvier, there is no myelin sheath. And this is about the cell body, dendrites, and axon. And we'll see how the materials and information is transported from the cell body. That is an axonal transport. And the soma is a metabolic engine of neuron. What they'll do, they synthesize neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitter will help in synaptic function, so that an response is generated with the neurotransmitters. And this axonal transport is of two types. That is fast axonal transport, and we have a slow axonal transport. Fast axonal transport is done for membrane bound organelles. These are transported through a fast axonal transport. That is, they are transported at a rate of 400 millimeters per day. In slow axonal transport, proteins are transported. Soluble proteins are transported at the rate of 1 mm per day. So, synaptic vesicles are transported through this fast axonal transport through to the neuromuscular junction. It takes around 2.5 days for the transport of synaptic vesicles to the neuromuscular junction. For this axonal transport, they require metabolic energy and calcium. Both are required. And for the movement of organelles, we require microtubules. To these microtubules, these membrane bound organelles are attached and they are transported. So this microtubule will have motor proteins. They will have motor proteins. These motor proteins are kinesin and dynein. And this axonal transport occurs in both the directions. This kinesin will help in anterograde, that is forward, anterograde, that is soma from cell body to the axon to the terminal axon, terminal synaptic thing. Dynesin will retrograde, they will do retrograde transport, that is recycling of synaptic vesicle. Recycling of a synaptic vesicle. This is how axonal transport will occur. Axonal transport will occur. This is about in detail about neuron. In the next class, we will see the clinical part of this neurons. Thank you.